Oki ambawastich daranastada and tanse, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the special meeting of Council. Madam Clerk, could we do a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. On the roll, Councillor Demong.
I'm first. Here.
Councillor Dhaliwal. Councillor McLean.
Here.
Councillor Meehan.
Here.
Councillor Penner.
Here.
Councillor Pootmans.
Here.
Councillor Sharp.
Here.
Councillor Spencer.
Here.
Councillor Walcott.
I'm here.
Councillor Wong.
Here.
Councillor Wyness. Councillor Carraw. Councillor Chabot.
Present.
Councillor Chu. Here. And Mayor Gondek.
I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Everyone, you know that we are doing this special meeting for two specific reasons. Firstly, to do the third reading of proposed bylaw 21P 2024 as amended. Madam Clerk, I'm just wondering, on the schedule, it has that as the one item. So the motions arising that are coming are just tied to that one item?
That's correct, Mayor Gondek. Motions arising have to flow from a matter that was just considered. Okay. So once the bylaw tabulation is complete, you can move into the motions arising. And just for everyone's note, it is included in the purpose at the top of the agenda.
Okay. Council, I will also remind you that you need to go into eScribe the way that you, not eScribe, yeah, you need to go into eScribe, but the way that you went into Teams to get into this meeting, that's the link you need to click for eScribe to be able to vote today. Everyone got that? So if you have your Teams open right now in the special meeting of council, there's a link to eScribe. You can do that too, yeah. All right, I just want to make sure that everyone's got both things open. No one's got any issues. Madam Clerk, we have a note from Councillor Carraw asking how to get into the Teams meeting. Councillor Sharp has replied to him.
In the special meeting, I'm sorry, I don't see those.
I'm in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everyone in here is good. Councillor Chabot, you're good? Okay. All right, so the first item is 4.1. It's a bylaw tabulation. Madam Clerk, do you need to introduce it?
Excuse me, Mayor Gondek, we have to do confirmation of the agenda first.
Yes, apologies. Can I get a mover for the agenda, please? Councillor Penner, seconded by Councillor Demong. Anyone opposed to the agenda as presented? Seeing and hearing none, that is carried.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. With respect to the next item, 4.1, Council has already taken the motion to give 3 readings to Bylaw 21P 2024. So the purpose of today's meeting is simply to proceed to the 3rd reading of Bylaw 21P 2024 as amended.
Thank you. So I can just go into the readings. Okay. 3rd reading of Bylaw 21P 2024 as amended. Anyone opposed?
Sean Chu.
Councillors Demong, Chu, McLean, Wong, Sharp, and Chabot are opposed, and that is carried. We now have motions arising that we need to tend to, and the first one comes to us from Councillor Pootmans.
Should I simply read it, or what? Or just move it, or what? And that Council direct administration to augment Home is here recommendation 1C 131 by tracking development permit applications on RCG parcels citywide to identify areas where increased densification requires infrastructure investment, but not including or limiting, including but not limited to water, roads, and parks, and bring forward the most appropriate funding tool to ensure growth is supported with proper infrastructure, with a report back to Council through Infrastructure and Planning Committee twice each year at the end of Q2 and Q4. Council, you might remember in the strategy document, the housing strategy document, there was a motion that passed unanimously through Council on the floor that we should pay attention to infrastructure investments that need to be made as a result of densification. And to that end, that there should be funding made available in circumstances that require that there's a relationship between the densification and the required infrastructure investment, be it pipes, be it wires, be it whatever is required. So this is, once again, a little bit boilerplate adding to the same issue as a motion arising in the amendments, just to reinforce the need to make sure that that funding is available. Thank you.
Thank you. This is being seconded by Councillor Chabot. Let's go to, or do you wish to weigh in, Councillor Chabot?
Well, I can briefly. I was going to get some clarification from administration as well, if I could, through this process. Would it be possible to also then consider a redevelopment levy as part of the funding mechanisms, or is this just going to open the door to any potential funding sources?
Councillor Chabot, a redevelopment levy. We, on exactly what, may I ask?
Whatever is identified as being deficient through this motion arising.
We can, well, the direction is to look at the most appropriate funding tools. So if there's anything that we don't have that we need, then yes, we would be looking at that.
So it's potential. Yeah, no, I have often said, even some of the debates that we've had recently, I said part of the challenge that I see here is the greenfield development. We identify those upfront needs, and then it's included as part of the offsite levy bylaw to actually fund those upgrades in the infrastructure to accommodate full build-out. This right now didn't have a true funding source. It looked at when it comes to failure, then we're going to look at how we're going to fund it. Let's try and get ahead of the curve as much as we can. We can anticipate that there's going to be some needs for investment in infrastructure. Through this process, we can track it, we can monitor it, we can watch it, we can predict when we're going to need to make some of those investments, which is why I actually support this. So hope Council can support it as well.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Sharp, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I just lost my questions. Okay, so I actually have some questions for administration as well, because I'm a little surprised this work isn't already happening. So my first question is, do we already track where increased density is happening and whether that'll trigger need for further investment?
Councillor Sharp, sorry, I apologize. Do you mind repeating that, please?
Sure. I said, do we not already track where increased density is happening and whether that will trigger need for further investment?
Yes, we do. And this motion is referring back to the one at the housing strategy too. But yes, we do.
Okay, so might not have the answer to this one at this point, but does administration have a sense of what the most appropriate funding tool might include? Are we talking tax dollars, another mechanism? Do we have a mechanism in place that we require something new?
I'm going to ask that Maggie Choi please help me out with this answer.
Okay.
Maggie?
Hi, sorry, could you just repeat the question? I just joined.
Okay, no problem, Maggie. Thank you. So I'm just asking if administration has a sense of what the most appropriate funding tool might include. So are we talking about taxes, another mechanism? Do we have that mechanism in place, or would we require something new?
Yeah, I think we do have the right tools in place. I think the intent here would be just that we could report back on how those tools are being utilized and if they're sufficient and if we need to tweak them at all. So I do believe I heard a question earlier about a redevelopment levy. So we do have a new pilot for an established area levy for local size pipe upgrades. And so we just launched that at the beginning of March. And so I think we just need some time to test out these tools and ensure that they're appropriate and we don't need any additional tweaks.
Okay, my next question then, is this a substantial amount of work or is it not? I just want to understand from administration, if we're already doing it, is just this adding on, or we got a little bit more clarity on what we need to report with? So maybe Director Hamilton, do you want to answer, or Maggie? Yeah, whatever.
I can start, and maybe Director Hamilton could add on. I do believe that we've already got direction to do this work, and we are already tracking and monitoring, and also we already have these tools. So I don't necessarily think that this is additional. It's really just already kind of reinstating what we've been directed to do.
Okay.
I don't have
Director
anything to
Hamilton?
add, Councillor Sharp.
Okay, no, good to know. I just wanted those questions answered. Thanks so much.
Let's go to Councillor Winus, please.
Thanks. I'm just kind of curious if this would be able to show sort of an imbalance of where we're actually getting density. Say Greenfield's doing it more and to a higher rate than what we would hope to see out of this zoning change. And how would you adjust if we're finding that there is a need for increased funding and we already have offsite levies, but the city's been pushing funding to the inner city and not getting the housing starts we want?
So I'll start us off, and if Ms. Choi has anything to add, I would suggest that everything that Ms. Choi has talked about is monitoring where growth goes and therefore where we need infrastructure, and the direction here is to come back with additional tools or funding if needed. So we would do that.
Okay.
I don't
won't go into
think
much
I have anything
detail.
else to add. Maggie, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you captured that.
All right, we're tired. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Wong, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Administration, I guess, like, you and I have had a conversation about amendments that I had wanted to put through, which basically says establishing an understanding of targets within a community. So in other words, if we had an understanding where we are today, what our capacity could be tomorrow, what would the targets be to be able to trigger capital investments? Is this similar to what I was asking for?
Councillor Wong, I believe what you've been asking before is actually putting density targets on individual communities. This I don't read as that. This is about monitoring, tracking where applications are coming in, and then monitoring the infrastructure, through which we do through all the programs that Ms. Choi has stated.
Yeah, I heard that part of the equation. I guess the second, my question is then, if you identify and track all the DPs that are coming into, let's say, West Elmhurst, at what point do you turn around and say, we need to, make an infrastructure investment to expand our sewer lines or whatever? Like, what is the indicator to us, just because you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what's an indicator to us that it triggers that capital investment?
So typically the RCG developments don't necessarily trigger new capital, but I'll let Maggie speak on what that, and I say that on an individual basis, but Maggie, if you can maybe jump in and speak to the cumulative and how you monitor the need for new capital growth infrastructure.
Yeah, that's correct. I think individual RCG type developments typically don't trigger upgrades to our system, but cumulatively the growth, we do have to track that. And so we do that through sanitary flow monitoring throughout the city, as well as by tracking population. And so without the census, we've been using a bit of a proxy. So it is based on units and estimated occupancies.
Measured against capacity in your infrastructure.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so this is something you're doing already.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I struggle to understand what difference this is compared to what you're doing already then. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Walcott, please.
Thank you. Just the major difference on this one, as I understand it, in administration, please don't hesitate to correct me if I'm wrong, is the reporting schedule, right? And that's why it's like a small scale of work, but it ensures that we're doing some reporting on these particular investments. So like that is kind of the difference here. It's about making sure that there's a significant reporting schedule behind it all. One of the things, like realistically, I actually anticipate a lot of this will probably come as briefings in the short term until like there are major changes that'll come down in near the future. But what I'm personally excited about is that, and again, we've talked about so much, the established areas have so many different funding sources to address what's being included here, and they're all reported in different places. I know it's like, it's not great, but like the established areas growth and change goes one way, LAP funding goes another direction. Plus, of course, then you're seeing Main Street funding here, and then all of this is contributing to these different things. And you'll hear Director Sheldrick, I think is his title now, talk about that, about how the inner city is never, or the established areas are never isolated to just one simple funding stream. This is kind of nice because by nature of what it's asking you to direct, it's likely going to bring back a report that kind of brings together multiple different funding streams that satisfy a lot of the infrastructure to a clean cut place versus us having to kind of get multiple pieces of information over time. So I think it's cleaner to ensure that we get it all in one shot like this to talk about infrastructure funding based off of growth and change.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue, but I do have a question. I'm going to ask admin, and then I'll ask the mover if he's comfortable with this. There's a twice annual reporting cycle in here. Is twice too much? Like, is once better?
Mayor, we would prefer once a year at the end of the year, and actually even by the end of 2025, I think. Maggie, would that be the first time you'd like to come back?
Yeah, I think it will take some time for us to track some trends, and so we were suggesting the first report back be by the end of 2025, and perhaps at that stage we could determine a frequency.
Okay, I guess I would ask the mover, would you be comfortable with that, knowing that they have to...
Sounds like a friendly.
And is there general consent?
Anybody opposed to that? Nope, not seeing anyone. Okay, thank you. Back over to you to close then, Councillor Putman.
Just a quick comment. I know during the public hearing, there was a common and reasonable concern to, especially from the areas I represent, that are enduring already issues with water in particular. The piping is wearing out. And if there could be a parallel investment underground as there might be above grade as we build out certain areas as needed. So this puts in place the mechanisms and eventually, hopefully, regular and sustained funding for it as well. Thank you. Closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, everyone.
Councillor Chu, your vote, please. Thank you. Councillor Wyness, your vote, please. Thank you. Mayor Gondekal, the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That is carried 14-1 with Councillor Wong voting against. The next motion arising we have is from Councillor Penner.
Yeah, thanks. So this is a motion arising to direct administration just to bring back a summary of essentially the associated cost work plan summary of related to the amendment, so sort of above and beyond what had been anticipated. And that just allows us to have a line of sight on that cumulative effect and the costs that are associated with that. So moving this so that we can understand and make sure that we are building that into the budgets that we are doing going forward.
Can I get someone to second this one? Councillor Walcott, thank you. Let's go to Councillor Sharp in the queue.
Thank you. I actually have a question either for CAO Duckworth or COO Douglas, just because we're on the topic of bringing cost of the amendments. Does administration need direction on how much this whole process costs, the public hearing, the overtime? Is that something separate? Or could this be also included in this report back?
Councillor Sharp, we're just going to get one of them to come up.
Yeah, no worries.
And clerk, sorry, just as I'm rereading it, it wasn't to come to the standing budget item. It was just to come to the, that should have been deleted. Sorry, that was just a miss. So can we just make that edit too? Thanks. Just while someone's coming up.
Can I just get the question repeated, please?
Yeah, so, hi, Stuart. My question was if the costs of the amendments are coming to executive committee on the 11th, I had kind of asked a question just kind of offline, like how much did this public hearing cost? With overtime, with the cost of running the meetings. We already know budgeted time and budgets are done for 8-hour work days, but I think it'd be really important for us to know, and for future as lessons learned, how much this whole thing costs, this month of public hearing. And I think we owe it to Calgarians. And so could that be part of this reporting back, or is that separate direction?
We can report that back at this time.
Including in this?
For this June 11th meeting, yes.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, that's it.
Thank you. Let's go back to the mover to close.
Closed.
You scribe to vote, everyone.
Councillor Wong, your vote, please. Thank you. Mayor Gondik, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried 14-1 with Councillor Thaliwal voting against. Let's go to the next one. This one's from Councillor Wyness. That one's gone? Okay. Let's go to Councillor Sharp then, please.
Thanks. Sorry, my mic was lost. Okay, so this one is actually an interesting one. It's a request that the mayor write a letter to municipal affairs on behalf of council. So we need to speed up our timelines for development. And there's a lot of ways we can continue to cut red tape. I happen to believe that removing the opportunity to speak at these land use applications didn't get passed because that was my debate was on that. But there's another way we can also speed up things. Right now, the Municipal Government Act has a 3-week period after development permit is issued during which an appeal can be filed. And until that period has passed, we don't actually release the development permits. That's 3 weeks that a project is just sitting in limbo. This amendment would request the mayor write a letter to municipal affairs, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, requesting we shorten that appeal period to 2 weeks. That's a full week faster that we can get shovels in the ground on every single one of these projects. There's still opportunity to appeal, but that doesn't change. And unlike not holding a public hearing, I don't believe we have 14 days to file an appeal. It's dramatically less fair, or even at that noticeable and actually noticeably of a difference. Chances you'll be aware of something you're planning to appeal and ready to do. I've already asked the minister if anyone's ever asked him for this, and he has said no. So Mayor, I'm putting this out there so that we can all support this. So for you to write a letter, and I'm happy to answer any questions in my close.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor McLean. Okay, let's go to Councillor Meehan, please.
Yeah, I just want to understand this because I think it's an interesting proposition, but it's like my understanding of it at least is flying in the face of some of the other things I heard, which is like the idea that the public needs to have a voice and that they have that ability in the appeal period. And so shortening that ability for appeal, I just don't see how that jives with some of the other arguments you've made today, which makes me think I'm misunderstanding it. So if you could clarify that in your close, that would help me. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Spencer, please.
Building off a little bit what Councillor Meehan just asked of the mover, I kind of wonder if this is maybe potentially just a little bit too early, because obviously what has just been proposed and passed, we need to restart to some degree the community conversation around this new process. So my concern would be truncating one of the opportunities for the community to engage before we've kind of ironed out some of the kinks. Seems like it's a little bit out of, it's coming a little bit premature. I could see a situation in the future where when that is well oiled and tested and true and is building trust in community in terms of the type of projects that are coming forward, and velocity is picking up alongside of that, that this could, potentially further expedite timelines. Yeah, if the mover could speak to that, I wonder if this is maybe just the right, like a good idea, but just maybe not at the right time.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Wong, please.
Thank you. 2 questions, and perhaps if Councillor Sharp can answer. Wouldn't this normally have been done through AB Munis? I'm putting it forward through there and getting other municipalities to decide whether or not this is right and wrong. The second is, I'm not sure if cutting it to 14 days really is respectful to people who want to appeal. As much as people will likely know that they want to appeal, the fact that many of them actually go searching for people, consultants in particular, to help them prepare the appeal, write the appeal, and get it in play. And I'm not sure 14 days gives them the time to do what they need to do. So again, if you can respond in the close. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor McLean, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I did second this just to facilitate a debate, but I actually am tending to lead. Since we just took away people's public hearing on land use, all that time away from them, I don't see shorting this as being advantageous. I do find it amusing, though, that the same people that took that away are now saying and wanting to see things streamlined are actually against this. Just a thought, but anyways, I actually won't support this.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Penner, please.
Thanks. Yeah. Can I just get admin to weigh in on this really quickly, on their thoughts or any context or history?
Sure, Councillor Penner. So it used to be 14 days, the appeal period, and then in 2018 the province changed it to 21 days.
Turn my mic on. Oh, there it is. Did they give a reason for that? Like where? Like just trying to get context on what that is.
I don't recall the reasons. Ms. Cote's on the line. Kelly, do you recall the reasons for the change from the province?
I don't have the rationale top of mind. I will say we've heard some indication that the province over the summer will be interested in meeting with big cities to look at finding efficiencies in the approval processes for residential development. So from that perspective, it may be something that is already being considered.
Interesting. Okay. Here, I'll say this. I think this is it's non-binding. It's a letter. So maybe we get behind this and we just write letters. Okay. I can support it.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Sharp.
Thank you. Thanks to Director Hamilton for stepping in. Yeah, I was part of when they changed that process and people were not happy, and particularly planning wasn't happy. Added an extra week. Now, there's no real difference here in the sense of we're trying to expedite permits. So writing a letter is great. The minister has not been asked to do this. And I think the letter doesn't hurt anything. I think what's important is something that Councillor McLean actually said, is that either we want houses built fast or we don't. So I will leave it up to you guys to vote on this. I don't think a letter hurts, but feel free to vote whichever way you want. With that, I'm closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondik, all the votes are in.
Could you display the results, please? That is carried 10-5 with Councillor McLean, Demong, Wong, Dhaliwal, and Chabot voting against. Now, Councillor Sharp, do you have one more?
Nope, I removed it.
Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any other motions arising?
Mayor Gondik, I just reviewed my notes, and nope, that was the last one.
Okay, is there any other business on this meeting?
No.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Penner, seconded by Councillor Putmans. Anyone opposed to adjourning? All right, we are adjourned. Good work.